So here, as you can see, that we have already integrated the Kubernetes cluster with the PowerProtect data manager, because you can see here that we can see the PowerProtect and the Valero PPDM namespaces. So now we'll just go ahead and get all the information of the MySQL pod that I have in the stateful set. So as you can see in this example, I have one master and one slave, and both of them are in a running state, and we can see that the persistent volumes are bound to the particular pods as well. You can also see that the services are also up and running for the MySQL cluster. So any application on top of this is actually in a running state. So now here is the template creation command that you can use using ppdmctl, which you would get from PowerProtect, and you'll install it on the Kubernetes cluster. So I'll get back to the template a little later in the demo. So we'll just go over the template. So this is the template that we have here. All right, so here you can see that this is the writes that are being performed on the MySQL database. So we are recording names, we are adding the names to the tables. And this will continuously go ahead and write to the database. So now we'll be checking in the sample DB that there are writes being showed. So now, as you can see, there are from 9343 just increased to 9364. That means the writes are happening. And now what we have here is we have the policy that's already created for MySQL. And from 19.5 onwards, you have this ad hoc backup that you can run at a policy level. And you can also select particular assets in the policy as well. I'll talk about it in the UI updates. What I'm doing is I am doing an on-demand backup on the policy now. So now if we go back to our PPDM controller, we should be able to see the log coming up soon for the backup job. All right, so as you can see here that the backup job log is now available. So if we can just check what's the content of the logs, we should be able to see that it's now waiting for the snapshot for the MySQL to complete. So as you can see here, it's actually waiting for the slave now. So before this, you should be able to see that all of the pre-hook commands here, if you can see, this is the root password file that I was talking about that's there in the template that we are using here, and it will go ahead and start the pre-hook, which is your QS command. And as soon as the QS is done, it will go ahead and wait and create for the snapshot for the MySQL database. So here we are using the internal hostpath CSI driver, so that's why it's a little slow. As I was saying before, if the customer is using better storage arrays and coming up from better, these devices coming from better storage arrays, you should see this happen within a few seconds. All right, so now if you can see here, the unQS has started. And as soon as the unQS has started for the slave pod, it has actually started to QS the actual master pod. And as you can see here, the writes are not happening anymore. So it'll wait for the snapshot to be taken for the master node. Right, so it's just waiting for the snapshot to finish. So now as soon as the snapshot finishes and it starts the unQS operation, you can see that the writes are starting to flow in. All right, so now we'll just look at the template once while the backup is still going on. So here is the actual template, and we just need to make sure that the master root password file, whatever the customer is using, make sure that you change this password file. All of the remaining command list would remain the same. So you would have to change your password file here, you would have to change your password file here, and similarly in the post hook command as well. And now here you would make sure that you have your app label set to MySQL, and you should also make sure that you have the selector terms here. So in this case we just had one slave and one master, so we put the slave first and master at the end. So with this command, as you can see on the screen, we should be able to see what labels the customer is using. So if you just get the MySQL pods, you should be able to see the labels that the customer is using here, and use the same in the template as well. Yeah, so now if you can see here, the C proxy pod is now running. That means the snapshot is being taken and it is being moved to the data domain from the PowerProtect controller and Valero. We'll just have to wait for some time for the backup to finish.
While we're
Yeah.
waiting, just a quick question. There's a question if we support hot add in this release, or are we still, only supporting MBD? And I believe we still only support MBD, correct?
Right. So that's true. That's true. So we'll be still keeping the support as is with respect to Kubernetes. Yeah. And now, as you can see here, the C proxy pods were terminating. That means the snapshot has finished and the backup has been sent to the data domain. So as you can see, if you can describe your job details, you would be able to see that the applications which had two PVCs or two volumes is now being protected. So now if I go back to my recovery section for Kubernetes, I should be able to see that all the copies that we created were application consistent.